guys, TJ here. We got the rest of the crew from Hyper Coliseum. We have Ben, Rio, Jarrell, and Arby. We are here today to go ahead and do a bit more of a discussion rather than just a reaction to the cards that got limited recently. I know Jarrell and Ben sort of had their sort of initial off the top of the head, sort of off the cuff reactions, but we wanted to kind of give a bit more in depth.
After staying up all night waiting for that list to come out.
I went to like 4 a.m. and I was
Ben's initial reactions to Tommy Unrestriction will forever stay in my head. I could visualize him popping off.
Oh god, when you said coming for you, TJ, I was so angry.
I know.
Don't target me. I don't want this. Anyways, though, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, so we're gonna just go card by card, list off our opinions on how we feel about the band. We'll go ahead and we'll read off pretty much why the card was restricted. I can read that off just to start with it, and then we'll just go from there. Okay.
Sounds good.
So first card on the list was ST6 Gaban, the original structure deck well, not the original, but the original purple structure deck Gaban we had. Which is interesting. Bandai's reasoning was Digimon with effects that can attack in succession are able to send targeted cards to the trash at a faster rate than expected. And the output of effects that take advantage of the trash and the stability of the deck is higher than expected. Due to the inherent effect of this card to exchange hands multiple times in one turn. In addition to the above, this card is a level 3 that can evolve to Gabumon X antibody at 0 cost. So the timing of the inherited effect is highly flexible, which narrows the range of design and active effects and effects utilizing trash. For the above reasons, we have decided to restrict this card to 1 per deck. What do you guys think?
So I want to lead off with this and saying that I fucked up when we made the initial impressions video because I thought this was the same as the BT2 Gaban, and I thought it was an on deletion effect and not a when attacking effect. This is also not once per turn, so I definitely see the reason why, because of the entire Garurumon unsuspend shenanigans that can happen. So
Yeah. I mean, there is unfortunately like only one Garuru that just unsuspends itself. That realistically benefits from this.
We're just like sitting down and reading the card. It 100% makes sense, like considering what it's gonna be used for. But I mean, that's the thing. Like, it could have been avoided if like Bandai just did like, hey, by the way, errata 1 card, add this 1 box of text once per turn. Sorry guys, you know.
It wouldn't be too. Yeah, it wouldn't be too bad if they did that. I think they don't
want an argument to be made, right, for that whole sort of idea where it's like maybe if Bandai just decided to errata cards instead of just completely
in general,
that might be a better means of balancing the game rather than trying to just limit cards to 1 copy. But yeah, I agree. I agree with all those reasons. It is a shame because there's a lot of purple cards on this list, and purple's just starting to eat good. But I think purple is eating too good with where they're at in JP right now. So I understand the sentiment of wanting to slow it. I think that's it for that card. Unless someone else had anything.
No, I think you guys pretty much covered it.
All right, next card we have is BT2 Gaban, another purple Gabu. This is the one that Jarrell had mentioned just a moment ago, which is the on deletion one, where it's on deletion, trigger, draw 2 cards, and then trash 1 from your hand. Bandai's reasoning was it is very versatile among the hand exchange effects due to its ability to send a targeted card to the trash while increasing the number of cards in the hand with the inherited effect. In addition, since it has this effect as a level 3 evolution source, it can perform this hand exchange at a very early stage, and as a result, it is so powerful that there is no need to use other methods. Thus, we have decided to limit this card. For the above reasons, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 per deck.
This one hurts because my boy has been such a staple of purple. Purple decks for so long, and they just reprinted it.
Also true. Right. Yeah, they did just
So people had more access to it.
I was so ready to foil those bad boys out and be like, we got the foil Gabus ready.
I mean, I think it's a special effort right now because I think Belfi players were using that card to an extent. Using the Fasco usually, but I did see some people using Gabu or mentioning that they were using it in their Belfi decks in general.
Well, right now there's not too many decks that like it. It really does feel like a preemptive Garuru hit, a Garuru engine hit, because there's really not too many. Like Belfi can use it on occasion, but in general, yeah, the Fasco is just better for you because you don't need to evolve into a level 4. Belfi, your only level 4 target is Eismon, really,
Right.
at level 4. So
Yeah.
But I mean, if you look at other like staple purple decks, right? Like Merva Rush, Minerva
Yeah.
Loop, Millith, like all those other purple decks, like this was a staple along with another card that was we'll talk about in a little bit.
yeah, this one is understandable. It's just like, what do you replace with it? Because it's really, as far as cards go, it's really one of the few that does what it does. On deletion, draw 2, trash 1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of value. Are you gonna put that on another card that isn't Gabumon, or is it just going to be like, or for future effects, are they just gonna be draw 1, trash 1, knowing the battle effect is so strong?
Right.
Yeah, as far as I see, it's like it's understandable why it got hit, but at the same time, it's like it is a slower card because it does have to be digivolved over and deleted.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's like every turn, every attack, you're just popping it off. You know what I mean? So it's not as crazy, but I definitely see why.
Your Eismon could just have jamming, and then you hit a Tommy, you hit a Tommy in security, and then you lose the effect anyway. And then your Eismon just gets stunned forever.
It's true and real.
But yeah, I agree. I mean, I just feel like what Rio and RB alluded to too as well is that there's really, like, I was trying to think of alternatives to like plug in for this guy, and I don't think there is one. At least I couldn't find one. I don't know if you guys can think of one.
It makes sense to limit it. It's just like we don't have a different option, and I wish there was one. Even if it was just draw 1, trash 1. If it just had like the Numera effect, basically.
And I think the other biggest thing too about both of these purple Gabus getting hit is that it pretty much, I mean, it annihilates the chance of running a full purple base Guru deck. You can still run majority purple cards. It's still going to be probably the better way to play, like we talked about earlier, RB. But
what do you mean? There's a Gabumon with no inheritables and no on-play effects.
Makes
BT4 Gaban.
Cry.
We just play that one.
He's 4K DP, man. He's a big guy.
Yeah, huge, big guy.
He was a rookie rush staple. What do you mean?
But anyways, yeah. So I think that is something that's like, it's sad that we are never gonna get to really mess around with that. And it also hurts too because it means like if you had any hopes of trying to mess around with BL Star, BT14, it is heavily hit, especially with the other card coming up. But I think that's it for that guy. Unless you else in the draw.
No, I was just gonna say, I was just looking at the new starter deck Gabumon, and I'm like, that, I guess that's theoretically like the nerf version that they probably want you to play with.
Yeah. It's the best replacement.
The one attacking once per turn.
It has the upside of getting your memory.
I feel like this Gabumon is like definitely one of those situations where we discussed like last video, where it's like, damn, if only there was like more of a variation on hit number. Like if this was at 2, I feel like it'd be more reasonable.
Yeah.
One's a little tight.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the next card. This is a card that I am. Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. Dodge the bullet. Bless the Shine Gray boys.
Shine Gray still gets to live.
Yeah, BT13 Geogreymon. So this is a card that, if you don't know what it does, we talked about before in the previous, like, our sort of our prediction video. When digivolving, you can search your security stack and you may play one red or yellow Tamer card from among them without paying the cost. You also get to activate the on-play effect of said card if it has one. If you did, you recover a card and then you can shuffle your security. So there's so much cycle and information gain for at most 3 memory. Most time it's going to be 2. Coming up in BT14, it can be free because he's a vaccine. So he plays perfectly into that deck because you can push Pata up. If he's in your security, you can digivolve into him and then instantly get like a tape, like TK. You can search security again, grab another card. You can like cycle like 2 or 3 cards in your security in a single turn. It's crazy.
And you can draw probably like 2 or 3 cards too with the inheritables of everybody too.
Yep.
So
and you gain memory with the new TK too in BT14. So it's
Adamon is so cracked, dude.
yeah. So this card was the one that I was, because I had a feeling Shine was gonna get hit regardless, even if it isn't doing super well in JP right now. I'm so happy it was this, and they didn't just completely kill the deck by hitting Marcus, because I know people with pitchforks are like, Marcus to what? Get rid of him. if you get rid of that, the entire card, the deck dies, and we have another alpha situation where like it's just so hard to play the deck.
Yeah.
At that point, and it doesn't see any play, and that's not fun for people that actually really want to play the deck still, even if it's in a state. So at least this keeps it sort of like that. But anyways, their reasoning was when using Shine Greymon decks, Marcus Damon becomes central to play, and the card was intended to be a card similar to BT12 Geogray that plays Tamers. However, because it can play Tamers from areas other than a hand, the speed and reliability of playing Marcus Damon cards was greater than predicted, leading to greater precision of one-shot wins with Shine Greymon decks. Because this is a vaccine card, yellow vaccine decks also allow Tamers to be played at speeds greater than predicted when BT14 Patamon is included. In addition, at level 4 and higher, an effect allows for playing from the security stack instead of from the hand, and because the effect specifies red or yellow Tamer, the card design is limited to decks that use red or yellow Tamers. For the above reasons, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 copy per deck. Do you guys have any other feelings about it? Sorry, I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, I mean that one is basically self-explanatory. Like,
yeah,
we all saw this one coming if the Marcus didn't get hit. So I mean,
we talked about it in our predictions. You know, it's one of those cards that does too much at the cost. Like we were saying, at 2, it can play a Tamer, which is frequently a 4, sometimes a 5 cost, and with respect to Marcus,
and Mirage.
And and if you can just do it for free, then it's insane. Like it.
Yeah, man, I think you hit it on the nail, TJ. Right? Like outside, even just like thinking outside of Shine Greymon too. Like this with the new vaccine deck is just absolutely bonkers. Yeah, would be absolutely just cracked. So I think limiting it to 1 is just, it makes sense. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
As much as I love vaccine deck and I want it to be like super cracked, but I mean it's fair.
We had that new Angemon coming up. That boy's wild enough as is. Yeah. And the other thing too is like realistically it can be completely free play because of Pata's effect if you see him in security. Like it can be insane.
Yeah, I feel like vaccine will be fine. It just won't be over the top, which is what is important for, you know what I mean? It's not gonna be tilting the meta in any way.
Should be what's intended off of a restriction.
Right.
It should be meant to kill something. It should be meant to just bring something back into balance.
Even on the Shine aspect, there's been plenty of games where you top deck this Geogray, you drop it, and then like all of a sudden, like the whole tide turns.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, or you just flat out whiff, and you're like, oh, okay.
I'll be like, I can rely on you, right, buddy? And he'll be like, sure thing,
like,
guy.
Like the pure amount of times I've like swung with the Marcus, had to die, it goes into security, and then you just bring it back out instantly with this dude. You're like, okay, no negs.
Yeah.
Never punished.
All right. Okay, next card up. EX4 Mach Galgamon. So I'll just go over the thing real quick while they did it. So when using Mirage Ganon decks, pairing this card's inherited effect with the inherited effects of cards such as EX4 Gaomon and EX4 Galgamon allowed for faster digivolutions to level 6 than predicted. As a result, interfering with the opponent or with opponent's moves using BT11 Mirage Gagamon was faster than other Mach Galgamon cards. In addition, the conditions for the unsuspending effect in this card's inherited effect are looser than other Mach Galgamon cards since it activates when attacking, allowing for greater attack capabilities. As a result of these two factors, other Mach Galgamon cards fall by the wayside, and Mirage Galgamon decks have greater stability than predicted. For the above reasons, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 copy per deck.
So my assumption on this was entirely off. Because when Ben and I were talking about it, I thought Mirage, they were like, yeah, Mirage just does too many unsuspend effects. And then I reread it and I was like, oh, you know, that makes sense. Sunny and I were talking about this earlier today. This one is literally just, hey, if your opponent has 8 unsuspend, whereas the other cards are like, you have to bounce something back to hand, or you have to make them add a card to hand. Which
the card is definitely the strongest Mach Galgamon. In my opinion, I feel like Mirage isn't performing at a scary enough level to to need a hit. So I feel like it's kind of a stray. It is a strong card, don't get me wrong, but Mirage Gal already can struggle with consistency or even doing the correct lines of play. And the other effects puts Mirage in a position where if they want to benefit off of their inheritable, they have to swing now with the level 5. which makes Nikolai from BT11 much more important for the deck to have jamming. Especially with how DP heavy things get nowadays, with how high things can climb, even on opponent's turn.
Yeah.
So it's because otherwise, if you digivolve, it uses the effect to unsuspend, even if you're already unsuspended. Because both BT13 and BT11 mock out of the same inheritable. So I mean, it is a strong card. It does feel a little bit weird to me though.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, if that's a goal, yeah, it's you're going to, if you're gonna have the Bukamon under it, and then I guess they want you to swing with the level 5.
Come on, you're right.
Yeah.
So then it most likely has jamming anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That should help. I didn't think about that angle.
I mean, also bouncing, like sort of what they said too, right? Bouncing to level 4 and being able to gain some memory off of those inheritable.
Yeah.
Let's turbo you up a little bit. So.
Yeah.
In a deck that sort of needed that speed to keep up with other decks, you know, because I mean, you are gaining memory with BT11 Mirage, but say you go into like BT13 Mirage, to be able to keep turn potentially with those effects can be, I think, a little bit more helpful going into that 5 to bounce, you know.
Yeah, true.
But I agree. I think, you know, of all the cards, this was sort of just like like really?
Yeah, it feels like the one that's least warranted, but
the only thing I could think of maybe is that they're worried if all the other cards they hit, that it would maybe begin to see a bit more dominance somehow. For at least for English, it definitely feels like it's more of an English hit rather than it is a JP hit.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, most of these cards are.
Well, did Mirage go like during, I guess, the BT14 before EX5 release? Was Mirage like that dominant of a deck?
They had more training. They had the training cards during BT13 era.
Yeah.
Start. So Mirage now did better in JP during BT13 era than it did here in English. But with us getting the training cards next set, the deck would see a surge in play. It would be better, but it's still not like tier 0. And I wouldn't even say I would say it's maybe low end of tier 1, just because of the fact that it can just be so much slower in terms of doing its full pop off.
Yeah. It's a red deck disguised as a blue deck, where you need to find all your pieces and you brick all the time.
Yeah.
Well, and there's also ways to play around what it wants to do, right? You know, Belfi definitely has ways to play around it. If you're smart about how you play your matchup, I mean, there's ways to avoid Mirage's win con, which is at 8 or more cards.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's definitely just one of those situations where it's like, I feel like if we were like JP, right, and we did get the trainings early enough to like have this card be impactful, I see how the trainings could make this card go over the top, right? Because then you're bouncing your reduced costs and all that on top of each other.
Yeah.
But I feel like as of right, like thinking like from like the player's perspective, right? It's like, what else are you gonna like run? Like this is like the main forum.
Yeah.
It's like the Gabu hit. It's like, bro, what else am I gonna do?
Yeah, you run 4 BT11 and 4 BT13 Makao, pretty much.
Or the starter. I mean, starter arrow. I'll keep running my starter arrows.
Starter arrow. Yeah. Getting
good card as well.
Getting those 2 checks in with burst mode is actually insane.
And now having jamming as an inheritable with Buka, 2 checks could be huge.
Yeah.
That definitely does come up a lot. The amount of times my Mirage just dies.
Just hits something that's also 12k or also 15k. But yeah.
I guess given the fact that this ban list does affect us when BT14 drops, this is probably in proper trainings. I know one of the guys in the California server is testing a Shine Gray with the new limit, but he has 4 red and yellow training each, and the deck still performs fine. If it works for the deck, it works.
I don't want to know what his ratios are, because that means he has to cut away from so many other things.
I'll post the list later, but yeah, no, it's
Man,
the deck still functions fine apparently.
It doesn't matter.
He's running 10 rookies, 8 level 4s, 6 level 5.
It doesn't matter what your ratios are if you search for everything.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, no, this is.
If you find the one of in your deck.
Shine and Mirage will probably be okay once we get the trainings, or they'll still stay okay. But
Yeah.
anyway.
All right. So moving on to the last card here, we have BT7, Eismon scatter mode, purple players. Can feel it.
Speaking of catching a straight bullet, fucking
Yeah.
No, we did predict this.
Yeah, we predicted this. It was likely. The thing is I think realistically with almost all these hits, only the Gabus really maybe affect JP because Eismon isn't even the main draw trash engine.
No,
They have so much
crazy.
better now.
It's crazy. It's like they were like, you know, Beelstar's coming back, and before people, we don't want to.
We don't want them to play it too early. We want
Yeah,
them to play
yeah.
they got
Right, you wait for your Guru engine.
Like they looked at JP and then they looked at America comparing lists. They're like, so how did we mess up over here?
Like what does Belfie run now? Belfie what? They run the Dark Lizard Mon from BT 11, BT 12?
Oh, you could consider running Doberman too, because it has that on deletion trash 3.
Yeah.
Top 3.
Mill's top 3.
You don't get to choose. Right.
But, I mean, you get to choose to an extent because you can grab back a card after you mill something.
Correct.
Which honestly, you
Yeah.
get more options off of that, so it's warranted that it could be better. But it's also more likely to live, I think, because that is 5 KDP, right?
I believe
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. It's hard. It's a hard thing, but we expected it. I can understand why moving forward, especially if the Guru engine gets hit, because then everyone just goes.
Oh no, Doberman. Doberman's 4.
It is 4K? Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
But yeah, it does feel like it's gonna put purple decks outside of Fenrir Luga during BT14 era in a really bad spot.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're gonna struggle.
You have to work a lot harder.
Well, that's just what I'm saying. Like it feels preemptive in a lot of ways. Like they're going to introduce purple cards that have similar effects, just toned down. Because drawing 3, trashing 2 is still kind of crazy.
It is
like,
crazy.
So much cycle. Yeah, that's so much cycle. Like you were drawing 6, discarding 4 off your Eismon, and like putting
Yeah, Ice Goblin.
basically 7 cards in trash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's you draw with Demi Mera, you draw 6 and trash 4.
Yeah, it just makes like, I guess
Lot of
deck building space limited, and that you're always going to include these cards for the foreseeable future until they introduce effects that are stronger.
And their reasoning too,
Yeah.
like it's long been an effective card in decks that utilize trashing, but its ability to exchange a very large number of cards at level 4 has greatly reduced the usage rate of other cards with hand exchange effects.
Yeah.
In addition, the effect is so powerful that the deck designs that utilize the trash must be based on this card. For the above reasons, we've decided to restrict this card to 1 per deck, which it makes it sound like Bandai have to take this card into consideration for every purple deck they make or archetype they make.
Yeah.
And it sounds like it's tired for them. They didn't do that with EX5 Guru, I'll tell you that much. But
don't worry, we'll get there when we get there. That's
this is the problem, right? This is the one they're really having to consider right now. But like, yeah, I guess Dober's a decent replacement. It's that or Dark Lizard.
It's like
those are
the difference is like Eismon gives you the choice. Like you have to like look at your hand. You're like, what do I really need right now? You know?
Yeah, same thing. It's like if you want to put stuff that you maybe drew into starting off in the trash.
Right.
I think the reason why Dark Lizard will probably get ran more over Dober.
Yeah.
Well, because I mean that paired with like stuff like Nidhogg and Underworld's Call, like you can get so much benefit from that too.
Yeah.
So being able to choose like what cards you trash.
True.
But
it
I
does
don't know.
have to say, but I understand the reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
I wish that like at the time of the hit that they also gave us something that could like somewhat replace it. And at that point, it just doesn't. Nothing really does.
Yeah, their statement was reduce the usage rate of other cards with hand exchange effects because there really aren't other cards that have good.
Yeah.
I feel like it wouldn't have been hit if Bandai had more graveyard or trash.
Yeah.
Because there's just
Definitely on like a selective level, right? 'Cause,
Yeah.
like,
there's so few cards that interact with the trash that like it, they can't really. They would have to introduce more ways of trash interaction for these cards to not get hit.
Yeah.
Because realistically, you have like what, Merciful Mode, and then
Merciful Mode is the only card that can, and Avenge Kidmon are the 2 cards that can manipulate your opponent's trash.
And then like Avenge Kidmon is still limited. No, there's Black Gatomon U version.
Oh, true, the new one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Which is like a one-off card. it's also like a purple card. So
It's a 5-drop on play unless it comes out of security with its on play effect, which is you return one Digimon card from your opponent and then you draw a card. So it's like super minimal.
Yeah. And then Avenge Kid is only options, and the decks that run like scatter mode are not gonna run like a crazy amount of options.
It's also a purple card that Black Gatomon Uver. So it's only gonna get ran in purple decks anyways. So it's not even gonna help other color decks against purple.
Right.
Yeah. So.
No. I think the sentence that makes me laugh the most is this effect is so powerful that you have to build cards around, build your deck around it, right? It's like, yeah, definitely. I'm gonna go into the workshop. I'm like, how do I build a deck around Icemon Scatter Mode?
Oh man. Yeah. All right. So that's the restrictions. That's it for that stuff. Moving on to probably the most interesting part of this ban list, or should I say the unbanned portion of this ban list.
Oh, Jarrell.
We had cards that were under. Jarrell's excitement is churning through him like a storm, like a hurricane. Ready. We had 2 cards taken off the restricted list. First time ever in Digimon. The first card is good old BT6 Savior Huckmon, probably the most requested card to come off of the restricted list. Jarrell, do your excitement if you want to go ahead and go for it.
Don't worry, I'll do that for Ben too when we get to the next one.
I understand. Yeah. So I'll let Jarrell take the lead on this, but I'll read their reasoning real quick for us. In past game environments, when this card was widely used, its effect and BT6 Jesmon's effect that played Sistermon cards were very powerful. And when this unsuspending effect in this card's inherited effect was paired with BT6 Jesmon's piercing, security attacks could be rapidly worn down, or security stacks could be rapidly worn down without being affected by defensive strategies such as blocker. However, we have determined that decks can counter these strategies, and or decks that can counter these strategies have increased in recent game environments. Therefore, we have decided to change this card from restricted to 1 to unrestricted.
Yeah. Well, like, however, we've determined that blocker was always useless.
Yeah, most of the time. It's a pretty rough keyword at this point with how much they.
Outside of like set 1, set 2.
Yeah.
Set 1, set 2. Blocker is the most OP thing in the world.
Jarrell, how do you feel? I want you to sit down and tell me, son. Tell me how you feel right now.
So, 100% honest take. I don't think this changes much.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like, the unsuspend is nice, but I feel like the inheritable from the other saviors that allow you to play sisters for free is a lot better. That is just when attacking. Granted, there are times that I find myself in the situation of, man, I wish I had the other savior to play a sister for free. That way I could digivolve into like Jessex or something. Because there are combos that you can do with the free play from the digivolve instead of from the attack. Sorry, go ahead.
Which savior are you replacing then when this card gets
with this right now? In my version of the list, I'm running four BT13, 1 starter, and 1 of this. I'll probably just go 2 of this.
Okay.
The thing is, like, I mathed it out in the Discord, and what was it, 7 checks for the same amount of sisters if you were doing Turbo GX. So the line of play is, let me pull it up here.
I was gonna say, like, isn't
Man, it comes ready. He's got his notes.
Yeah.
Like, Your Honor, let me show you evidence slide number 5.
BT13, the BT13 is the 4-ounce savior that you run, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that one's just better because you get to reduce.
You spit out it.
It extends your combos further.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that one, if you play a sister, you digivolve into a Just, or it allows you to digivolve into a Just even faster. So the line of play is using starter deck 12 Just because nobody really uses BT6 anymore, I'll be honest. starter deck 12 Just is you swing, play one from his one attacking effect, you unsuspend. You swing again, you play the BT10 CL, because the one attacking isn't a once per turn, so you play the BT10 CL to digivolve into Jess X, which allows you to play another Sistermon, so you play another BT10 CL to go into GX, you slide either Jess X or Genku X underneath, you play one more sister. So with the 2 attacks and the effect that allows you to play sisters, you get 4 sisters and 7 checks.
So my question here too, is there a reason if you're running more of this card, do you run more of the BT10 sisters for more free evos potentially?
Probably.
Where you could digivolve into the Savior Huck, play out the BT10 sister to go into Jess blitzes, plays out another sister, or when digivolve he plays a sister, right?
Yeah.
And then
One,
plays out
yeah,
another
BT6
just-
one digivolving plays a sister. Yeah, so I mean,
Play 4 BT10 sisters. Just
yeah, so
just
you
go up
could you could
GX.
realistically go more OTK with this.
Yeah.
And this does, like, if you think about it, it does give you, or it gives your opponent less memory, theoretically,
Yeah. I
than
will
just
say-
going current Turbo GX.
I will say the unsuspend is terrifying because the
Yeah.
fact that if you don't clear the board that turn that they do those 4 checks, they definitely have game next turn.
Yeah.
If you don't have Coitus to limit them, because it's so scary already when they make that wide board.
The other thing is, like, realistically, I don't know, because it's a little weird. I mean, I'm trying to think of like the other version of that the deck you'd play. So you'd spit out the 2 CLs, and then be able, if you get all 5 of their checks in one turn, you just go into Chimera for game that same turn.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting. I have a thought. I had a real that I mentioned to you guys before we started recording, but and to people watching the video right now, if you watched this far, I should have mentioned at the beginning. I have a realization that I haven't seen mentioned in other videos for this discussion. I haven't seen mentioned on Facebook, Reddit, Twitter. I haven't seen it talked about anywhere. So I'm wondering, I'm sure people have had the same thought. I'll get to it at the end, so make sure you stick around. Or if you want to jump to the end, go ahead.
Oh, this guy.
We'll get there.
Look at this.
About this card or like the Banlist in
This
general?
card and Tommy.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Tease. The
Why-
tease.
We'll get there. I want to keep everyone teased.
But yeah, I mean, the unrestricted is nice. I honestly don't think it'll change too much for the deck. I'm sure someone will craft up some cracked OTK combo that you can probably do from turn 2.
Yeah.
With all the training cards we have too, you can very easily keep
I might mess around with it a little bit, but for now I'm probably just gonna stick with the general Turbo GX strategy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's one of those situations where it's like you won't think it's important till you have it, like until you like actually need it, and then when you're sitting there, you're like, damn, I need one more swing. You're like, fuck.
It's nice.
Yeah.
I guess in theory the unrestricted is also nice because if you don't see the reboot CL, you just get it on suspend.
Yes.
So
for sure.
It's one of those like, if I had this one card at this one time moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one card, fellas. All right. Other cards. Speaking of Tommy, just mentioned briefly before, Tommy Himi from BT7. If you want to go ahead and hit in honor of Ben right now, Ben just mouth it as he does it.
Winter is coming.
Just tuck your mic into your speaker and give us the feedback loop from home.
So Bandai's idea with this is, and I'll keep it a stack. My heart sunk when I saw this card, but I've had a turnaround. I've had a turnaround, which you know me, Ben. All of you know me. How much I hate the stun mechanic. How much I think it is a terrible design. And I had a realization about it that I'll get into when we're talking about that stuff. But anyways. Bandai's reasoning was in past game environments when this card was widely used, this card's on-play effect was a factor that allowed decks that used hybrid cards as main cards to immediately attack more easily than predicted and more effectively than decks that required multiple standard digivolutions, creating an imbalance in play. Even among hybrid decks, effects in blue hybrid decks that prevented attacking and blocking were particularly strong, and this led to a heavy burden on other decks. However, in recent game environments, there has been an increase in cards that can counter Digivolution card removals and can counter effects that prevent attacking/blocking. Therefore, we have decided to change this card from restricted to 1 to unrestricted. So let me get the bad vibes out the way, because I think I'm the best one to emanate that, and then Ben can give you the good vibes, and everyone can give you probably good vibes too. RB probably. I think RB, from what I've seen you saying, you might also have some bad vibes with this as well, but I'm not sure.
Put 'em back
Back in So Tommy is a 3-drop tamer that on play trashes 3 Digivolution cards from the bottom of one of your opponent's Digimon, and then has an inheritable of when attacking until the end of your opponent's next turn. One of your opponent's Digimon with no Digivolution cards can't attack or block, and he's normally paired with Korikakumon, who, when Digivolving, stuns a card, basically makes it so that it can't attack or block until the end of your opponent's next turn, just on Digivolve. So effectively with Tommy, if they have 2 cards, if they have no sources, you can just
Yeah, I was gonna say, it has to have no sources, right?
Yes, it
Correct.
has no sources.
Correct.
For both. And
You can also do Kuma, Tommy to Kuma, strip a source, then go Korikaku,
Yes,
then
so you
subsequently
can-
stun.
Yeah, and even if you aren't able to swing that turn, if you have enough memory boost, or just how memory efficient blue is, you can very easily play Tommy and potentially still keep turn after Kuma and Korikaku, or you can choke them one with Korikaku.
Yeah.
And they can't do anything during their turn, and they have to pass you more memory usually, especially with blue. Especially if you have Sorojo on board and you've stunned it, they have a card with no sources on it, can't Digivolve up, can't add a source. You're just gonna give them an extra 2 memory or more if they have more Sorojos, which we'll definitely start seeing play again with this. So Tommy initially, it wasn't a huge issue in JP. They went away from it pretty quickly. But here in, at least in NA and English in general, it was a nightmare. He was the most played deck for, I think, 3 formats. He was from BT7 through BT9 when he got hit, finally. And he just, he tore shit up. Like, him paired with hybrid cards, all of the memory efficiency that blue has, paired with like the Azulongmon from BT7, and everything else, it was just very hard to play any deck that could navigate around this, because so often you'd be able to just strip an entire stack in a turn, and then you'd be left with a level 6 on board and couldn't play the game unless you somehow won fast enough. And God forbid you check him out of security. And then, you know, we had the X-Antibody option come into play in BT9 that was unable to be trashed. So that at least gave X-Antibody decks a thing, but that pigeonholed things in the game, where if you weren't playing blue hybrid, you were playing an X-Antibody deck.
Yeah.
And that sucked.
Yeah, it was definitely a band-aid on the wound. It's like,
Yes.
it helps, but it doesn't help enough.
Because it basically just it limited the format, and that was my initial fear with Tommy right now. It is not as much of a fear moving forward. I have seen the argument for him being that there is a lot more tamer control in the game. But I did the math on things. It's really not that much more. We still only have, like, I think 7 total deletion effects for Tamers. And they're all either black or gray, or use them on chaos mode, or they're an option card, like all delete or something. But moving away from bad vibe stuff, I'll cover that stuff with my big brain thing that I realized. Ben, if you have good vibes.
Winter is coming.
That's not good vibe.
Coincidentally,
No,
in time with the season.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I think, yes, Tamer Hate is not as prevalent anymore, sort of like you're alluding to. Well, I mean, not as prevalent, but you're right, TJ. Like, there aren't, like, growing
more,
mechanisms to kill Tamers, you know?
Yeah.
Right. But I will say, I think the game, I think Tommy is still going to be a problem. I agree with that. I still think it's going to be very annoying for a lot of people, but I think we do have ways to manage him a lot more than we did before. So I think the game has grown in a way where Tommy, yes, he's still going to be a menace, because you've got Sorai, you've got Howling Memory Boost, you've got Sorojo still, you've got a bunch of stuff in BT14 that lets you choose what sources to strip. So that's almost like a direct counter to X-Antibody not being able to be stripped, or can you still not choose X-Antibody? I don't know.
The new X-Antibody can be.
Yeah.
It doesn't have protection.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but the old one you still can't be stripped,
Old one's
but you can
still
still sort of manage source strip that way and give it a little bit more options. So I still think it's going to be a problem and very annoying, but I still think there's ways to interact with it. There's still ways to control what Tommy wants to do. And with stacks becoming a lot bigger, I still think it's a manageable problem compared to where we were in BT7, where one Tommy and one Howling Memboost and you're absolutely just fucked.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
When did Bandai introduce Mulligan?
That
Ooh.
was right around the time
between 9 and 10, right? No.
No. It was right a little bit after Greymon X got limited.
Ooh.
So that's
Yeah, I think between 9 and 10 was when we were like testing at regional events or like big
Yeah.
events.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like in March or April,
Sure.
something like that.
So it's yeah. I think part of the problem was like during Blue Hybrid's heyday was we didn't have mulligans yet. So like it was a deck that didn't care as much as other decks about seeing its pieces, because you get the Tamers anyway. You get the Tamers, and then
Yeah.
you get the memory from them, and you can make your plays that way. But
Yeah.
now that we have mulligans, like it's easier for people to see their pieces and delete like problematic Tamers or Digimon.
Yeah.
I'm wondering
Even-
too, like, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, even like before, like when we didn't have Mulligan, right? Like fighting against Blue Hybrid, it's like, let's say you guys both break in your opening hand. As long as they have the Tommy, it's like, I don't play, you don't play. We both sit here, we stare at each other until we
that's
draw
what
the
I'm
piece
saying.
first.
They don't care. They don't care about bricking as much as like other decks. So they're just like, okay, I play my Tamer, and then it sits there until I have my pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm wondering too, like with Hunters doing pretty well still, you know, and Hunters still being a prevalent competitor. I mean, Tommy is a pretty good counter against Hunters, being able to strip away their resources and just trash them.
Hunters, and it can hurt Cross too.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like, I don't know, I don't think Bandai intended it to be a direct answer to these decks, but I mean, it definitely helps keep them in check.
I have an idea with that, and it's the thing I'm talking about. But we'll
Go for it.
We'll get there. Well, hold on. So first things first.
We get there, we get there.
What's up?
No, I was asking Joe if he had anything you wanted to add.
No,
Okay,
I know him.
To be clear too with Tommy stuff, right? So there is 9 cards that can delete Tamers right now. We have Destromon, which is only played in Galacti. We have Lucamon Chaos Mode, which can pop a Tamer. And the Destromon can pop a Tamer, I think with a play cost of 3 or less, basically, or a number of sources equal to the Venmon under it, with it equals up to the play cost. Megadramon from BT9 can delete the play cost of 3 or less when Digivolve, and has the heritable of when attacking can do so, which is pretty much exclusively used in Machine. We have Blackwell Greymon and Hades Force, so those are just funneled into there, which, as a brief interjection here, my first concern when I saw Tommy Unrestricted wasn't about... It was more so that everyone's going to go back to playing Black War Grey X, and we're going to just see a surge in that card, and see a surge of Tamer Hate and other stuff, and that deck also incorporating Omnimon Alter B and Omnimon's Work Defeat, who both also delete Tamers. And they're also both cards that can Digivolve over black that work very well in those decks, because they also have Omnimon in name, so they can get all of the bonuses of the ties, they can get the bonuses of the inheritables, etc. Aside from all those cards, the only other card we have, or the only other cards we have, is Dark Knight Mon X, which Dark Knight sucks against Blue Hybrid. Let's be honest, that deck ain't gonna do nothing. It's gonna get sources stripped. Every time you play Dark Knight Mon, you're gonna pass turn.
Yeah.
Period. They drop at cheapest for 4. You can drop the Skull Knight for 2, 3. It hurts. As someone who played a lot of Dark Knight and loves Dark Knight, it's not gonna do nothing. And then we have, of course, Jarrell's choice card, Alt Delete. That you have to have an Omnimon on board, but deletes all Digimon and Tamers. And but it also costs 10, so it's very expensive. But you could pop all them Tommies if you want to pop them. Otherwise, if you don't have a deletion effect, you're gonna bounce it back to hand with the only 2 cards that do that are the Mirage Ganon from BT13 and Amphimon Ace. And this isn't just going over Tommy in general. This is just Tamer in general, like, because there's a lot of Tamer effects that are coming up that are strong, and so people are aware. Those 2 cards can bounce Tamers. You don't want to bounce Tommy. That's a terrible idea. You're going to lose 3 more sources. You're going to cry about it. And the other scary thing too about Tommy being able to play himself again is if you have ace cards in your stack, he's going to play for free. He can strip those level 5 aces and just be played for free.
Yeah.
And all it takes for a normal deck for this to happen, right, is you promote BT14 Gomamon, he strips a source, start of main phase, you play Tommy. You gain, Tommy is played for free. Then you digivolve to Korikaku, stunned. That is their level 6 stunned if it's not next to anybody deck. So
PJ, I want you to know you sound like a war vet right now, bro.
Dude, I've been through so much pain with Ben. You have no idea how many stun decks I have played against him. He's played Tommy at 1 against me, and it hurts.
You know that meme with the guy like explaining things with the dry erase board behind him.
I'm Charlie Day and Sunny right now, and it's Pepe Sylvia. They got boxed up Pepe Sylvia. Tommy hit me. They got boxed up Tommy hit me. Anyways, otherwise, if you're not playing one of those decks, you're either you're doing a green deck that uses plants, which is pretty much all Rosemon cards, Quartz, or like Chip Particle Cannon that just suspend a Tamer and it can't be suspended. And you just pray that if they digivolve into Korikaku, they're not gonna be able to stun you, because at least they can't get the one attacking stun off of.
Yeah.
Or you play the Manoa, which makes it so Tamers can't unsuspend. So you want to play Eos, and you have a means of running Quartz in Eos, and then you go ahead and suspend them, and then you go ahead and play Manoa, and they can't unsuspend. There you go. You've done it. Then they go ahead and they hit you with a full moon meteor impact, and your Quartz is back in your hand, and you cry about it. But until then, you're feeling good about yourself. So yeah, that's pretty much all the Tamer control we have. So here comes my revelation. I was sitting here pondering this morning in my manic stew, as you guys have already seen me sort of miring in. And I was going over everything, and I'm like, okay, cards that were hit obviously mostly are bans for EN. That's whatever. That's fine. These are not really JP bans. They're not going to do much for JP realistically, right? This is mostly just to kind of cap things off here in NA and other English regions. And I started thinking about it, I'm like, so why? Of all the cards that they decide to unrestrict Tommy and Jesmon, why were those the first 2 at the forefront for decisions? They make an argument about game speed and mechanics existing in the game for the reason for unrestricting them, but you can make those same arguments against Argomon being restricted, against Jet Sylphie, etc. All those cards, you could make reasons to explain why those cards could come back. But what do those cards do that doesn't help against a certain something in JP right now? Apoclymon. These cards were unrestricted not for just to test balancing stuff or whatnot. They were unrestricted specifically, in my opinion, I think, to counter the top purple decks and Apoclymon. All right, because think about it, right? BT6 Jesmon, how many times, Jarrell, have I seen you now in recent days, just with what you already have, being able to swing and do 4, sometimes 5 checks with Jesmon GX? It put me in a position where I don't have enough game speed to even attempt to make a comeback. On top of that, during Apocly, Jesmon GX is one of the easiest level 7s to get into to swing over Apocly, because he easily climbs that DP threshold, even if Apocly has boosts. And if Apocly tucks a Craniumon under, if Apocly tucks a Belphemon sleep mode that then tucks a rage mode, they don't care about, like Jesmon GX doesn't care about it, because all its effects target Jesmon GX, and he can just swing through it with piercing and do all those checks. And you don't mind stuff being trash from your deck because you utilize the trash as a resource. Right?
You kind of care. The only thing you really want in there is sisters.
But at the same time, like, it takes time for Apocly to also get their enough stuff in their trash as well. So usually, like, you've turn 2, turn 3'd me, that's all the time you need to be able to do your stuff. And they're not gonna usually have Apocly until that turn. Okay? That was my first thought. Tommy is a Tamer that strips 3. What does Apocly tuck? He tucks 3 cards when you play him. 3 cards. End of turn, then tucks another.
Bye-bye.
You can strip most of his sources, and it slows down his mill engine. He won't be able to mill Blue Hybrid as fast, and Tommy can very easily just stun Apocly, and then what do? They can't do anything about it. Apocly's a level 7 just sitting on board. Unless they have a Calling from Darkness to pop him, they can't even grab him back because he's a white card.
Yeah.
Both of the cards they unrestricted, I think both can directly work in tangent to stop Apocalypse and those purple decks. And on top of that too, going back to both of them, Apocalypse and those other purple decks don't run stuff that really counterplays those strategies. Those purple decks don't run things they're gonna board clear like crazy. Apocalypse doesn't really control board at all. He's just a big blocker that mills you out. And both those decks can slow down his trashing engine or just completely go faster than him and win the game before he can mill you out of your cards. And I haven't seen anyone discuss it, and I think that's the real why. I've seen people like asking, well, like, what's the reason for these cards? They'd be like, well, you know, the game speed's fast enough where these cards aren't as impressive anymore. No, I think I think that's part of it. But I think that no one's answering the real why these were the cards first considered, and I think it's because they can play directly against those decks in that upcoming format. And I think that is their solve to try and help JP right now, in a sense of trying to have those decks see less play, and then other decks that can counter Jessamon and counter Blue Hybrids see more play. And so they're hoping that by adding like
a counter to these decks.
Basically, you got Godzilla, Mecha Godzilla fighting. All right, you're gonna go ahead, you're gonna drop Kong in, and you're gonna pray that boy balances it out, and somehow the Mecha Godzilla that is Apocalypse, both the Blue Hybrid that is BT6 Jess, or the King Kong that is both BT6 Jessmon and Tommy Himi, and the Godzilla that is the rest of the game can work together to figure this shit out and make it work. I know I sound crazy, but if you think about it, technically,
no, it makes sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
It makes sense.
Release the cats to catch some mice, and release dogs to catch.
I have some thoughts here, but I do also want to throw like the X-Files theme over this.
Yes, I don't blame you. I understand. If Jarrell does that in editing,
I'm about to throw the Vsauce theme over this in editing.
Yeah. He's in 2023. He's leading the revolution against Apocalypse.
I'm not wrong. Like, think about it, right?
No, you're not.
That's
Yeah,
the best way to counter all those purple decks and strategies. Stun them, slow them down. All those purple decks play out things without sources. Tommy can perfectly stun those.
We'll see.
Jessamon,
go.
with the unsuspend effect, those decks usually can't clear board fast enough, and Jessamon will just next turn swing for like 10 more checks between him and all of his sisters. Even if they have block or retail, you just swing with the sisters first. So, you know, that's my thought process. That's what I was thinking. That was the realization I had. I haven't seen anyone talk about it. So I was like, I'm sure other people have had the same thought, but I haven't seen it posted anywhere. So I think that is their genuine reasoning as to why those two cards were picked above all else, because Argomon isn't going to do enough to stop any of those decks. He's going to just wide board more, but it's still going to take time to do stuff. And usually those smaller cards aren't going to do enough. And Jet Selfie just recovers one, and really that just hurts you against their mill strategy. She doesn't stop Apocalypse from doing what he's doing, because he'll still just mill out the rest of the deck, even if they Jet Selfie Venus.
What I'm hearing is Mega Digimon Fusion should go up the Banlist.
Stop.
But anyways,
we gotta fight fire with fire, man.
Oh,
that's my crackpot theory. That's my idea. I don't think
like it. I like it a lot.
Had another way of restricting stuff that would not hurt their sales.
Bring back
while
Mega
also trying to
Digimon
control
Fusion.
stuff in JP until EX5 comes out. I do think that we'll probably still get Garurumon XC get hit. Assuming that things continue to be a problem. I think if this strategy works, if this solution works, EX5 Garuru might be okay.
I think they're
Bring back X4.
Bring back Ramp.
Please.
I think this is also like it's nice to see the cards unrestricted, because then it might be a little bit of copium. It gives some hope to players who see
It does.
their favorite boy Eismon get restricted, like maybe one day.
Unrestricted one day.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Unrestricted one day. That's what I would hope for. Oh man, but yeah. You guys have any other closing thoughts? That's my crackpot theory. Sorry for the fever rant. Hopefully it wasn't sped. Hopefully I didn't talk too fast. Hopefully it's
No.
intelligent.
I mean, I agree with RB too, though. I mean, I think, you know, it's just nice to see that Bandai is sort of planning, not just for like the immediate sort of like as a response. They're kind of planning sets ahead for longevity and kind of are adapting to what's coming out. So it's nice to see that they have like a long-term plan for this game, which as enjoyers of this game, we gladly will take.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to see how results go, because this list took effect almost immediately in Japan, right? Or it's in like the next week or so.
It's 27th of October.
27th. So
Yeah.
we're a little bit of time.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to see how
See
it
if it
goes.
affects anything in their current meta.
Because that gives us about 2 to 3 weeks of breathing room to see how it affects them before it
Yeah.
hits us.
Yeah.
Agreed. We'll see how they do. God, I hope I'm right. I'd feel so good, so vindicated if I'm right.
I see just hit tier 1 and I'm gonna scream.
Oh, I know you would. I know it. All right. Yeah, I think that's about it for us. I think that's closing thoughts. If you guys have watched this far into the video, please like and subscribe. We appreciate it. We appreciate all that. If you have any other ideas, any other thoughts about the ban list, anything you want to discuss with us, drop it in a comment below. We'll go ahead. One of us will respond either on the Hyper Coliseum account or on our own YouTubes. But again, thank you guys for watching. We appreciate the support. It's been awesome. Love seeing you guys, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.